Good afternoon. My name is Tshego. I'm 30 years old and I'm currently a senior associate at Genesis Analytics. I was part of the first cohort of YLEDers in 2006, and a lot of who I am today is because of the fact that I was involved in YLED. Today we'll be sharing stories about our journeys and the impact that this amazing organization has had on our lives. So I'd like to welcome my beautiful guest, Nhlalala Bilankulu. Can you please introduce yourselves to us?
My name is Nhlalala Bilankulu, and I was part of YLED in 2014. I went to Macaulay House, and yeah, that's basically who I am. I just graduated last year, my honors, and yeah, I'm well on my way to becoming a professional.
I'm Louisa. I'm a creative. I'm a marketer. I'm an artist, and I was in YLED back in 2012. Yeah.
Great. You're a creative and an artist. I love that. And I love that YLED makes the space for people to really express their passions and do what makes them happy. Can you tell us about your YLED journey? What were the highlights? What did you enjoy about it?
Okay. The highlight for me was at camp. I think that's where everyone got together, because at the beginning it was very nerve-wracking. Everyone was doing their own thing. But at camp we all came together and it was one group and no longer different people. And there you get to learn from people from different backgrounds, and also teach, because we were all from spheres. And as I said, for me being a creative, the fashion show was one of my biggest highlights. I even remember on the day, I was one of the models. That's where I started coming out of my shell, because I was also one of the leaders of the group. So it also impacted me, and it made me feel part of something bigger and outside of myself, for someone to even recognize me and make them the leader.
My experience with YLED is that we're all from different backgrounds, and I got to understand that in as much as I was from Macaulay and I was interacting with people from the townships, there's always something to learn from the next person. And I don't want to say I was shocked, but when you started having conversations with different people, you would learn that actually I wouldn't have thought of that. So while it became that place where you would exchange experiences with people, knowledge, and you would basically grow within the program. And as much as some of the things that happened in YLED were very intimidating, like especially when you had your entrepreneurship leg of the program. However, for me, all-roundedly, you would learn at YLED. Even later on, when I came back as a volunteer, came back as a mentor, with each and every cohort that you get to interact with, you understand that there's something different to learn. Generations are very different. The thinking is different. However, the end goal and the objective is the same. Whatever mandate that YLED has at the beginning, despite whatever generation you are, that end goal is reached at the end.
That's amazing. So I also went to Macaulay a few years before you. And I was lucky enough, I was lucky enough to be part of the program 3 years in a row. People who know me say it's because I failed each year. But I would say I was blessed to be part of the program for 3 years in a row and share the same experiences with you. What was amazing for me was meeting a cohort of like-minded young people who really just want to do well in life. And meet mentors and facilitators who really inspired you to go above and beyond what you thought was possible for your own life. And I can say, really, for me, YLED, the three things that I can say about my experience is that I learned resilience, I learned excellence, and I learned confidence. And those are the three things that I'll take from my journey. Can you tell us and explain a bit more about how YLED has shaped your life?
Okay, so I always tell the story of how where I come from, born and bred in Shawela, Soweto. I never really had role models around me, right? In as much as my mom is a professional, I had cousins who went to like school and whatever, but I never really got a chance to look at people around me and say, okay, I want to be like this person. From a very young age, I had to be that person for myself. And then when I went to YLED, I always like to describe myself as like a dark horse. So when I was at Mokoli, I was very low key, you know. And then once I went to YLED, I started being confident, as you say. You know, I wouldn't volunteer myself when I was at Mokoli for certain things, like if you had to say a speech or whatever. But then YLED probed you. There's certain things that you had to do at YLED, and you literally had to do them. And then once I stepped out of YLED and I went back to like my community, went back to my community being school, being at home, people could tell that there was a difference. There was just something different about me. I became more considerate of other people around me. There's something that YLED teaches you, that it's not about you. You are part of something bigger than you, right? In as much as you are there for your personal growth, you go in there telling yourself that, okay, I want to learn this. I want to be the cream of the crop at the end of the program. But during the journey and the process, you start learning that it's not about me only. It's about everybody else. You build the people that you're with. The group of girls that I went with from Mokoli to YLED, all of us were different in so many ways. But at the end, you could just tell that there was just something similar. And that is the biggest thing that I learned from YLED, that the journey is about taking everyone with you. You don't succeed on your own. And I've taken that back into like my personal life and my community. I try by all means, in as much as like I don't necessarily, well, I started making money out of it, but at first, like I'll say, okay, what do you need help with? You know, I started adopting someone. Each and every year I make it a means that I adopt a student who is in high school or just in my community, help with the little things, like clothes that I don't need anymore. Say for example, you're struggling at school, I'll give you my textbooks from, you know, when I was in grade 11 in matric. Do you need help with anything? In university, there are people from my community who go to VITS who are doing modules that I've done. Do you need help with your assignments? So that's just sort of like the culture of giving back. That's how I go back in my community and try to give back.
So coming from a small township, you didn't get your role models, and I've never had a role model until I came to YLED. So one of the person I used to look up to is Dumi. Dumi was down to earth, but very well spoken. When she enters the room, you could tell that this person knows herself, knows where she wants to go. So that's where I learned from as a person to say, this is when I finish this, I want to be true to myself, be authentic. Even if when I go to a room with people, I can still say, I learned from that. And with all the information I grasped from them, this is who I became. So while it shaped me in a sense of, you can, when you're part of it, you are still your individual bringing into a table. So you are adding, you are also teaching what you learned, because we all learned different things. So that's how it shaped me.
Sure. You mentioned that you're a volunteer for YLED, and you've also mentioned that you give back in your community. What are the other ways in which you want to pay it forward and carry on the legacy of YLED?
So this year, given the pandemic and everything, obviously at the beginning of the year, I thought that I would go into the workplace and so on and so forth. You know, like that's the next thing that you're supposed to do in society. You get out of school, you get a job, you know, life goes on. However, I didn't get that opportunity, right? And then I remember one of the first few weeks at YLED, Uncle Stephen was like, hey Lala, don't you want to come help out at YLED? And I was like, yeah, I'm more than willing, because currently I'm not doing anything. And because of the pandemic, so much changed on YLED. We had to go digital. And I feel like that really cultivated certain skills in me. I went into the administrative team, and more than anything, you spoke about resilience. That's characteristics that I built. It wasn't easy. It really wasn't easy. But it taught me how to be patient with people, to be resilient, and to look at the bigger picture. And now, going into my life, next year being in a professional in training program, going into the mining space, I want to take YLED in that space. I want us to move from, not entirely move, from like the mining, not the mining, the banking industry, but like go and tap into other industries as well, you know, because you find that most of us who are in YLED, we are BCom stream, right? And then obviously mining, you have like your BScs and so on and so forth. But then my lecturer used to tell me that a lot of people who do mining and would do a course in psychology, they wouldn't pass psychology because they don't have that emotional side of them, right? So having such things as YLED that allow you to take out your creative side, look into other things, get you out of your comfort zone into different industries. I feel like that's where we should be going, tapping into different things so that we just create an ecosystem of entrepreneurs in different spaces. You know, don't just be a professional. What is there more to you than being just an engineer, than just being an accountant, than being just a psychologist? So that's what I want. Let's tap into different industries. And let's start with your interns. Let's start with your students.
Besides volunteering, there's also a lot to learn still. So when you go back to YLED, it's not a thing of giving. It's also like learning and absorbing from the young ones. Like things are changing, generations are changing, and there's always something new to learn while you are instilling knowledge. So it's always beautiful to see how everything evolved with the new cohorts to us, because things are now different. They probably have it easy now, because you know, with the Steven days it was still hardcore. But yeah, coming back to volunteer, it's also a part of me feeling like I missed this part of me that I would also like to learn about myself, and also learning from the new cohorts.
I do want to say well done, and like I will like a high five for that. What would you say is the one thing that you're going to, you know, take forward? How are you going to pay it forward? You know, how are you going to make sure that the legacy of YLED continues? You know, what's your commitment to that?
My commitment to this is always coming back, you know, coming back home to see how you can help, how you can improve. So I can still stay far, but always checking up and how I can also add value where I'm at in life. It's how I'd want to continue the legacy. Come back, assist, and give where you can.
You know, we had a society, right? Let's start with that. Let's start building those ecosystems there. Let's not have students going into industry because now I'm an intern, I just came from university. While you're in university, try other things, because you get certain degrees like your accountings where you have your vacation work, I think that's what they call it, but then you wouldn't find that in other degrees, and they get that exposure, right? So I believe that we just need to build an ecosystem, and we as YLED can start that ecosystem.
100%, 100%. I think if each and every alumni of YLED brought a little bit of YLED into their own space, you know, that ecosystem would be built. And I'd like to encourage all alumni to do that, because this program is powerful. You know, this program changes lives. When I think about my own life, I got a bursary through YLED. I have mentors through YLED. I'm able to excel in my workspace because of the lessons I've learned through YLED. And we want to give that to as many young people as possible. So thank you very much, Lala. You've inspired me.
You all inspire me.
And yeah, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Louisa. I've really enjoyed this conversation. And I've gotten to know a side of you I didn't know. I didn't know you're a creative.
Thank you.
I want to see you in these streets soon. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Great.